House hacking is where you buy a property, you live in a portion of it, and you rent the other portion. So a good example of it would be, it could be a legal duplex, or it could be, let's say that you live in the main floor and you rent the basement.
There's actually a way that if you were to do more of a house hack as a first-time buyer, and we're gonna dive into that right now, house hacking, there's actually an opportunity that if you house hacked it right, and you use that reverse mortgage correctly, you actually, after that 5-year term, from tenant pay down, from a basement tenant, could actually be the vessel to pay back that reverse mortgage. This could be a vessel to use your house, use the reverse mortgage, get your kids a property where they're able to live upstairs, rent out the basement. So that being said, what's a house hack?
Oh, I love this.
I know you love this one. I love this one personally. Real basic here, break it down for me. House hacking 101. If I don't know what it is, I've never heard of it, give me a 1-minute rundown, what is it?
I will, and I'll say really quickly first what you just introed there because I'm so passionate about it. We actually have a unique program specifically we structured to reverse mortgages for a house hack with all the mortgage details in there because I believe it's the new BRRRR. I love it.
Yeah,
we'll get into that too. So house hacking is where you buy a property, you live in a portion of it, and you rent the other portion. So a good example of it would be, it could be a legal duplex, or it could be, let's say that you live in the main floor and you rent the basement. The person who's renting the other part of the home that you're living in as well is paying rent. So let's use simple numbers. Let's say that the rent is $2,000. They're paying $2,000 to you. Well, your mortgage, let's say, is $2,000. Or $1,800 or $2,200, whatever it might be. That's your mortgage payment. So you can imagine how that income, when you live in the property, the way an investment property differs is that if you don't live in the property and it's a regular investment property, we can only use a portion of that rental income to qualify you. But when you live in it and you're house hacking, we can use 100% of the income. So that means that it's kind of like a job. So that income helps you to qualify. Even if you're working at a job that you're not making as much money, not enough to qualify for a mortgage, now you automatically qualify for the mortgage and that person's helping pay the mortgage. So essentially you're living almost free. It might cost you $100, $200 depending on the numbers. But the reality, in my opinion, I've always believed that house hacking is the best real estate strategy forever, and it continues to be today. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. So I crunched the numbers on it for us. So, because I jumped right in, I was like, I love this. I love the idea of it. The one thing I really learned right now, and especially if you're looking to purchase right now in Mississauga, Oakville, Burlington, Milton, what we're finding is you can buy right now in the sub 1 million price point, a freehold property, no maintenance fees, semi-detached, some small detached, but they have basement apartments. So if you're looking at that, and the positive with a house hack, if we're using the reverse mortgage, they're first-time buyers. They don't need 20% down, correct? So that is an opportunity here. And if you were to look at it on a large scale, and I'm gonna make up some of these numbers, but let's just use a 5% interest rate, keep it simple, $1 million home, roughly speaking, it's gonna cost you anywhere from $400 to $4,500 or so, give or take, probably closer to $5,000. So you get to live in this vessel at $1 million. Now we know these same properties were selling 3-4 years ago for 1.3. So if we use the $100,000 example, we're gonna use basic numbers here because I'm roughing it all, so don't take this for certain.
To jump in real quickly here, you're right. If you're putting the minimum down payment down, because you'll only need $75,000 if you're putting the minimum down payment down. People like to put a little bit more, but if we could use that example, sure, 90, 100 grand, right?
So we're just gonna use that. And that's an opportunity now where if you're a couple, you're renting, you're thinking to yourself, like the average 2-bedroom rental right now in Mississauga is $3,100. So now you're looking at this and saying, I can live in a 3-bedroom upstairs house, freehold with no maintenance fees, probably still gonna pay 70% of utilities because the basement's gonna help me out, plus $2,000 from the basement. Right there alone, you're now in this home at $3,000 a month. Now over 5 years, let's just say the market comes back with 10%. Your house is worth 1.1. You're coming up for your new mortgage term because you've been in there. So what's not to say that person now can refinance their property. You take that $100,000 back and boom, pay your parents. That is the opportunity I think right now that not enough people know about. And I think in general, if you have your down payment, forget the reverse mortgaging. Personally, I think that is the best thing you can do.
I completely agree. I love that scenario and that strategy. That's one option of a multitude of them that people can do, right? So this is one phenomenal strategy. The other is, if you picture yourself getting into that house hack, it's a catalyst for folks to build wealth for their future. So one thing that we've seen people do over the years, me included, and several clients that we have, hundreds of clients, is the first house hack is an opportunity to either, you could stay in it if you want to for the duration, and you can use the extra equity that you have to buy another investment property, or you can keep the property, rent both the top and the bottom, and then go ahead and buy a second property that you go ahead and house hack again. You could do it over and over again if you'd like to, and accumulate a portfolio of investment properties and build your wealth.
Tax implications, right? Canada, we know we get taxed a lot. This is the vessel to avoid that situation.
Yeah, hang on
right?
to it, yeah.
Exactly, and that's where I think your biggest opportunity is, because I think what some people don't realize too is when they do their pre-approval, let's just say, you know, and I'm gonna see where on average we would land, but if someone has about $2,000 income coming from a basement and say I'm pre-approved for $900 today, on average, roughly, what would that do to help me get a better pre-approval?
Substantial. I mean, that we use 100% of that income. So if you picture that extra $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year, that really jumps you up substantially, a couple $100,000 qualifying.
And that's something I don't think people realize right now, because you know, where we're seeing the markets right now, there's opportunity, there's lots of opportunity in terms of the freehold market. We haven't seen come down to say the low 900s, high 800s for semi-detached properties with basement apartments.
Yeah.
Right, and that's kind of an opportunity where you're saying, hey, if I'm pre-approved for 900 and I'm looking at towns and maybe some semi-small, that 2,000 can bring you to a 1-1. That actually could even get you into a detached property today.
Could get into that home that you thought you wouldn't be able to get into for another 5, 6, 7 years, or even a decade down the road. People in their mind think that this is my first home, my intro home, then maybe that's my next home. Well, a lot of people now, we're having qualified getting into that home they've always wanted right away. They don't realize that right now they can get into that home.
And I think that's the biggest opportunity with house hacking in general. If you really want to be a savvy house hacker, this is kind of your second option for it too. Because house hacking doesn't actually just have to mean that I'm gonna have an upstairs, rent a basement. I could be a young guy, young girl, 25, 26, just finished university. Well, what do we normally do? We go rent a condo. We go rent with a friend. Well, now with the rules and how things are changing, that same $1 million home, if the 75,000 is the least I need, that doesn't say, well, wait a minute. If I'm gonna go rent a condo at 800 square feet right now and live with somebody, what if I did the exact same scenario and 2 of us bought the house? We live upstairs and rent the basement. Now that $3,000 a month went to $1,500, and now we just walked into an opportunity where we're paying $1,500 each, someone's paying $2,000 in the basement, and we're living in a freehold home that 5 years later, we get to sit there and say to ourselves, and what I always recommend for this when you go with a friend, you know, brother, sister, family member, you always have up a nice agreement. Set yourselves up with a 5-year plan. Don't do 2, don't do 3, decide 5. Because on average, we talked about this a little bit here with real estate, and this is something to note if you're looking to get into the market. Don't be an emotional buyer. You're gonna be there for 5 years. Plan if I'm purchasing a real estate home, whether it's for myself or an investment property, 5 years minimum before I say if this was good or bad.
And we gotta let the market do its thing. It takes time. It usually takes at least 5 years for the market to shift in either direction. What it does as well, if you jump in with a friend or what have you, the house hacking, not only does it help you with the qualifying and the income portion, but as we talked about, you could use if you have parents that are able to reverse mortgage that equity, or even if they're not 55 and older, there's also the ability for parents to maybe refinance to get a little bit of capital to help you with that initial down payment. So there's lots of solutions.
And the big thing I liked with that is it just gives you options. If I'm only paying there and I want to enjoy my life, you know, I want to have the nice house and I want to be this and that. When I started real estate, the vessel was kind of more of where the prices were. You can kind of get into freehold. Condos were kind of in that spot where pre-construction was the big win because you're buying them at almost market value. It made sense 10 years ago. It doesn't make sense anymore. And personally, I've never been a pre-con guy. Luckily, you know, we've got away with it.
We have to pivot with the market.
We got to adapt and change. And I think, again, it goes back to house hacking, find the friend. And again, when you find the friend, even if you have 3 friends that do it with 3 bedrooms, right? You can go into a bigger home, a 2-story. If you really think about it, guys, that's $30,000 each. Literally, that's $90K, 3 people. Right? Maybe you have a good close friends, that's a couple, you know? The couple wants to live downstairs, the other 2 are upstairs, that's 4 people. Now we're just really running the numbers here, 20K. There's so much opportunity, guys. I think the really big takeaway, what I'm pulling from this is, if you wanna become a homeowner and you're serious about home ownership, there's ways to do it. And I think in today's world, it's about being creative, understanding financing options, and then realizing we need a plan, working with your agent to come up with that plan and stick to the 5-year plan. And I think that's kind of your vessel to really set yourself up for the future.
And to wrap that up, that portion right there, it's the truth. You said it very well. We're seeing so many folks who they come to us either from realtor partners or as clients that they don't think that they can qualify. They're like, I'm not quite there. But when we bring them in, we onboard them and we go ahead and get them, do a pre-approval, do all the details. They find out very quickly that, wow, I actually do qualify and for more than I thought I would. And that's the big thing.
Well, thanks so much for coming in, Nate. We really appreciate all the information. There's been some great information here from home equity line, house hacking, reverse mortgages. Again, the bottom is gonna have our information there if you wanna reach out, set up a phone call to actually deep dive into your situation. Thanks for subscribing. If you like this, hit the subscribe button, and we will be doing this. We're gonna try to check in with different professionals amongst the industry. Leave some comments if there's any people you wanna see, you wanna hear from, or any topics you wanna know. We'll be jumping on there to discuss it all.